Fellas, there's been a few fighters in the UFC that have actually crossed over to boxing, so I'm going to be picking out one fighter in every current UFC weight class who I think would have the best kind of chance at crossing over to the sport of boxing. Now, this is just going to be crossing over to boxing. I'm not going to be talking about their MMA striking or their striking overall or how good they are in MMA. This is just going to be pure boxing. And yeah, I picked one fighter in every weight class. Let me know if you agree. Starting off with the heavyweight division, I've gone with Aspinall, and before everyone starts talking about Ngannou, he's not in the UFC anymore, which is why I haven't included him, because it would obviously be my first option. But considering Ngannou's not in the UFC, I think the next best thing when it comes to boxing in the heavyweight division is Tom Aspinall. This guy is one of the quickest heavyweights I've ever seen. And I know we say that I get against like every kind of new breed of heavyweight. A few people are saying it about Pavlovich and Gane, but Aspinall really does move like a welterweight. He's super quick, which is why he's striking so effective. He hits really hard as well, knocking out guys or boxers who are good as Sergey Pavlovich and starching guys like Tapora. And even in his fight against Volkov, he was so slick with his defense in that fight. And not just that fight, in most of his fights as well. So I'm going with Tom Aspinall in the heavyweight division. He's always been a great boxer. He's always worked in the UFC career and even outside of the UFC career. In fact, there was once a point in his MMA career where he actually considered crossing over to boxing because I think it was because he didn't have enough fights in MMA. But there was once a time when he actually contemplated moving to boxing full time. Am I saying that Aspinall's going to go out there and be able to beat guys like Fury? I'm not saying that, but he's quick, he's powerful, his combinations are amazing, and he's such a dangerous guy on the feet. Obviously, he's a wizard when it comes to grappling as well, but on the feet alone, Aspinall is so dangerous. I've not gone for Cyril Gane because I feel like Cyril Gane's more of a kickboxing style rather than just pure boxing. And I know Aspinall utilizes his leg kicks and everything like that, but when it comes to pure boxing right now, in the heavyweight division, I'm giving it to Aspinall. Moves like a welterweight, hits hard, one of the slickest strikers in the UFC. I'm going Aspinall. Light heavyweight. I know I just talked about Cyril Gane having a kickboxing style, and that's what I've gone for Pereira for light heavyweight. Now, I do understand Pereira is a better kickboxer than he is a boxer. Like, there's no doubting about it, but this guy is so dangerous. This guy's left hook, I think it's the statement goes something like right hook hospital, left hook cemetery, and that's the perfect way to describe Alex Pereira. He's so dangerous on the feet. One mistake on the feet against this guy and you're done. And I know he likes to utilize his leg kicks a lot, at his knees and his clinch work, so it's going to be hard to talk about a kickboxer when it comes to just limiting it and just talking about his boxing. But Pereira's boxing is insane. The knockout over a guy as skilled on the feet as Sean Strickland, TKOing a guy like Adesanya on the feet as well, the knockout over Yuri Prohaska, the beating that he put on Jan Blachowicz after the first round. And I know technically the Yuri Prohaska fight, it was a lot of elbows involved, which ain't boxing, but either way, Pereira is one of the best boxers in the UFC, and I think even though he's a much better kickboxer, I think he is the best boxer in the light heavyweight division. I think he'd be able to beat Jamal Hill on the feet. And don't get me wrong, Jamal Hill is not a terrible boxer on the feet. He's also really dangerous, durable as well. But I would back Pereira on the feet against any light heavyweight, even if he had to limitize it to just boxing and it was just a boxing match between the two of them. I'm going Pereira for light heavyweight. One of the most dangerous fighters in the UFC, one of the pound-for-pound hardest hitters in the UFC. I've got to go for Pereira for light heavyweight. Middleweight, I'm going Sean Strickland. Yeah, Strickland is one of those fighters where his game plan in nearly every fight is 95% boxing and then 5% other. You watch Sean Strickland fight, this guy, he might be a little bit of grappling, there might be a bit of clinching, there might be a couple leg kicks in there, but 95% of Strickland's game is walking forward, avoiding getting hit, and beating the shit out of every one of his opponents. The beating this guy put on Israel Adesanya, a guy like Israel Adesanya as decorated as him, and he goes out there and outboxes him for 5 rounds straight. The fact he was so close to beating a guy like Dricus du Plessis with his boxing as well. And it's not just those fights as well. The Abbas Magomedov fight, the Brendan Allen fight, the Jack Hermanson fight, all of these have aged really well. I even argue that he even beat Jared Cannonier, a stylistic nightmare with his boxing as well. Strickland, his defense, his offense, and I feel like it's definitely improved a lot. Ever since he fought Adesanya, we've seen a massive increase and improvement in the boxing of Sean Strickland, and I think it's really effective, and he's now become one of the high top level middleweights because of his boxing. That's all he really has, but it works. And I feel like if Strickland was to somehow transition over to like a boxing, or he was to have some sort of boxing match, I don't think he'd struggle that much when it comes to crossing over, because like I said, his game plan is like 95% boxing. So I'm going Sean Strickland for the middleweight division, the best boxer in the division in my opinion, and I don't even think there's like anyone that's too close to him as well. So I'm going Strickland for middleweight. Welterweight, I'm going JDM. Yeah, I'm going Jack Della Maddalena. Now, you could have also got, there's a few other boxers in the division, obviously, there's like guys like Jeff Neal as well, but I'm going JDM. Yeah, this guy's combinations are absolutely amazing. When we watched that Holland fight, and the combinations that JDM were landing on Kevin Holland, the perfect mix of body shots and obviously headshots as well. JDM, I just think his combinations are some of the best in the UFC. Everything, and not even just the Holland fight, the Randy Brown fight as well. And this is why I'm so excited to see JDM versus Gilbert Burns, because I know Gilbert Burns has also got the jiu-jitsu style, but he's also really sound on the feet. So when we see a guy as experienced and technical as Gilbert Burns come against a kind of a new contender in JDM who's climbing the rankings, I'm going to be so intrigued to see how he fights on the feet against a guy like Gilbert Burns. And it's not even just a Gilbert Burns fight. I hope we see JDM against guys like Leon Edwards and Ian Gary, and even like a Jeff Neal as well, just other pure boxers in the division, because I feel like this guy, when it comes to transitioning to boxing, I don't think JDM would struggle that much. He's had one of the best rises in the UFC because of his boxing, and it's going to get him far. I even think it could get him as far as touching gold in the UFC. So for welterweight, I'm going JDM I'm going to say he's the best boxer in the UFC, well, in the welterweight division in the UFC. Lightweight, it's got to be Dustin Poirier. Listen, is he the most consistent fighter? No. Does he have a lot of flaws in his MMA game, like grappling and other fighters or specific fighters? Yes, he does. But when it comes to pure boxing, I still think he's the best. I'm not going to talk too much about the Gaethje rematch where he got knocked out cold, because, I mean, it was a lot of feeling out for the first part of the fight until he eventually got knocked out by the head kick. But we look at his fights, he's so slick. Knocking out Conor McGregor, beating the shit out of him on 2 occasions. I know they fought 3 times, but the rematch in the trilogy against McGregor, the fight with Michael Chandler, the fight against Oliveira, I'm not saying he won the fight against Oliveira, I'm saying the fact that he's able to drop most of his opponents as well. Even if we go back to like the Dan Hooker fight, Dustin Poirier's boxing has always been amazing. He's never struggled when it comes to boxing. He's never really been outclassed when it comes to boxing. He's always had slick boxing. And I feel like I said, I know I've said this about every single fighter now, but if Poirier was to transition to boxing, he wouldn't look like out of place in a boxing ring because of how technical he is. We've all seen the mythical fighter pull up the shorts Poirier, where he pulls up his shorts and then he grants like a 10% improvement when it comes to his boxing. So if we see that sort of Poirier in a boxing match, I think we're in for a treat. Doesn't really tend to get outstruck on the feet. He's 9 times out of 10, Poirier will be the better striker when he fights. I'm going to say it like that because, yeah, one of the best boxers in the UFC. Lightweight, without a doubt, I'm going Dustin Poirier. Not the most consistent, but I think he's the best boxer. Featherweight, I'm going Ilia Poirier. We're going to see, I know a lot of people are going to be talking about Holloway as well, saying, what about Max Holloway? Now, when it comes to MMA striking and MMA boxing, I guess you can say, I guess Holloway is a better boxer or better fighter, or better striker at least, should we say, than Ilia Poirier. And I do think if they were to face off in like a striking-only matchup, Holloway would win. But pure boxing, I'm going to give it to Ilia Poirier. I know he's only had a handful of fights at the highest level, but from what we've seen in those fights, this guy's displayed such dangerous boxing and such effective boxing. The knockout, the brutal knockout over Jai Herbert, the beating that he put on Bryce Mitchell and Josh Emmett as well. Everything about Ilia Poirier's boxing game has always been amazing as well. Yeah, Poirier, and we're going to see this weekend again on Saturday against Volkanovski. I can't wait for that, because if this guy can somehow land that massive shot against Volkanovski or even just piece him up, that is going to show that Poirier has, well, he's going to be showing levels in the featherweight division. And like I said, it's not just, point fighting boxing. He's so effective. Look at the faces of this guy's opponents after he faces them. They're either getting finished or they're leaving the fight with one of the bloodiest and bruised faces we've ever seen. So Poirier, I'm going to give it to him at featherweight. I do think he is the best pure boxer in the featherweight division, and I can't wait to see him get tested against Volkanovski this weekend. Maybe he can put Volkanovski's lights out like Makhachev did. We're going to have to see, but for featherweight, I'm going to Poirier. Bantamweight, I'm going Peter Yan, and I know he's on a bit of a losing streak. Obviously, he's lost to Sterling, he lost to Marab, but those two are grapplers. That was a heavy grappling opposition in those matches. And I know we can talk about the O'Malley loss. Fair enough, he did lose to O'Malley, but O'Malley's like a nightmare matchup on the feet for Peter Yan, a tall, lanky striker who hits hard as well. And even in that fight, it was a controversial loss as well. A lot of people thought that Yan won that fight, including myself. I thought he did enough to beat O'Malley on the night, but I think people are forgetting how good of a boxer Petian is. Just look at the fight with Sandhagen, or even just before the Sandhagen fight. Petian has always been one of the most crisp and dangerous boxers in the bantamweight division, and that's why I feel like he's gonna showcase it when he faces Song Yadong. Nothing against Song Yadong, but I feel like Petian, when he gets back in it, when he gets his confidence back, and when he gets another win and he's back in the win column, that's where we're really going to see Petian maybe make a bit of a comeback. I'm not saying he's going to be a champion, because like I said, it is where there is a lot of stylistic matchups for him that necessarily don't necessarily go his way, like we just saw with Marab. But when it comes to pure boxing, Jan's displayed insane boxing throughout his entire career. I mean, that's what, made him become the bantamweight champion in the first place. Super slick, pieces nearly everyone up, so I'm going to go Petian for the bantamweight division. I know he's on a bit of a losing streak, but I don't think we can really blame his boxing on that, considering the styles that he was going against. So I'm going Petian for bantamweight, and then finally, I'm going for Brandon Moreno in the flyweight division. Yeah, the thing I love about Moreno versus Pantoja is the styles of striking between them. We've got Pantoja on one hand, who's maybe not the most technical boxer, but he hits like a truck. And then we've got Moreno on the other hand, who's a technical boxer, may not hit as hard as Pantoja, but he's really quick and he's got really effective boxing. And that's what I like most about Moreno and Pantoja. That's why I really love seeing them fight on the feet, as we did in the third fight. And I'm going to go as far to say that Moreno is the best striker in the flyweight division. Like I said, the reason he lost to Pantoja was because of the effectiveness of Pantoja's power, and obviously the jiu-jitsu and the grappling as well. But other strikers as well. Kai Kara-France is an amazing striker. Moreno, he couldn't even hold a torch for Moreno. That's why I feel like he's going to beat the shit out of Amir Albazi as well. Moreno's boxing has always been good. He's always had like a dangerous boxing style, and like I said, the speed of Brandon Moreno, the fact that he's so fast and he's able to piece opponents up so quickly as well. I'm going Moreno for the flyweight division. He might not hit the hardest, but he's definitely still a dangerous fighter, and he's such a skilled boxer as well. So that's my pick for the flyweight division. And yeah, that is who I think the best boxer is in every UFC weight class, or at least who I think would have the best kind of career if they were to transition to a boxing fight. But yeah, that's my opinion on the best boxer in every division. Let me know your thoughts, and thank you for watching.